Hello and welcome along to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's time for our instant post-match reaction to Leeds United 0, Burnley 2. Myself, Stephen Brown and Jason Booker here to give our thoughts, opinions, reaction to everything going on. Please get your comments in, like the video, subscribe to the channel. That's not a good one today, Jay, and I'll be completely honest with you. I'm really struggling to know which way to land on this one. Normally when you lose a game of football, if you've been terrible, you can kind of go, yeah, we were terrible, we deserve to lose, what are we going to do to fix it? But it feels slightly different today. I think there's no doubt it's damaging. We talked about it in the show we did Thursday in terms of, a 6-pointer, and, it gives Burnley such a huge boost. They're up to 7 points now, a point behind us. It would have given us the opportunity to get daylight. But, on the other hand, I'm looking at it going, well, we're 8 games in. It's not done by any means or anything like that. But it's not great. It's not great. And, I'm looking at it, Jay, and I mean, the 2 goals that Burnley scored today, I mean, it's 2 moments of absolute sheer quality. Yeah. We can talk about the defending and what happens leading up to both goals, but just those moments of quality that we just desperately did not have today at all. I mean, really, we just had no quality in the final third at all. And when we produced little bits, we just didn't get the look of the bounce or anything. I mean, I don't want to come on a stream every week and go, we were unlucky. But, I mean, it just feels like, I don't know, it's going against us in so many ways. But, look, we're going to dig deep into it. We're going to look at things. I'm not here to glaze. I'm not here to say we are perfect and it's just bad luck, because that's not true either. But, Jay, 15, 20 minutes after full time, I mean, where's your head at it with it at the moment?
Yeah, you kind of filling in the blanks for me, because I feel a very similar kind of feeling. I'm struggling to kind of even think how I'm going to articulate how I feel, and because I feel that we dominated large parts of the game. I think on several other days that play out exactly the way that this one does, we probably go on and win the game. Some weeks we get half a bounce and we score early and we go on and dominate the game. They had 4 shots at home, did Burnley. 4 shots at home, 3 on target. One's a thunderbolt, which we'll get into the build-up. And then one, I mean, the bit of quality from Kyle Walker, the cross that he delivers. Dan James doesn't have that. Jayden Bogle doesn't have that. Gabby Goodmanson doesn't have it today. Jack Harrison doesn't have it today. That was the difference, really, because that first goal kind of made or break the game. When we didn't score in the first half, I was feeling like this might be tough to get back into, because you know what they're going to do. Their distinct lack of quality shows, but they do have a defensively structured manager in Scott Parker that sets up a certain way. And once you get behind, it's very difficult to break down. We've seen this before. We were perfectly level in ability last season, both finishing on 100 points, going about it in very, very different ways. A lot of Leeds fans were very much thinking that this were an easy win. It was never an easy win. This was because the context is so different as well. They really needed to win this game. This has given them somewhat of a fighting chance. I still think that they'll go down. I still think they'll probably go down quite comfortably, if I'm honest. More so even after seeing today, because I think they're very, very limited. You're not going to get that kind of delivery in header very often. You're not going to score that second goal very often either. So, they were very, very lackluster up front, but then so were we. We were very creative,
very
creativity less. Struggling to get my words out, but yeah, when Brendan Aronson's your best outlet, and he was, or Dominic Calvert-Lewin long, you've got a problem. I'll be Brendan's biggest defender until the cows come home, but today he was the actual only creative spark in that first half. Gabby took over that a little bit in the second, but that's not enough. It's nowhere near enough. We weren't moving the ball fast enough, quickly enough, popping it around to open up the spaces. Brendan should obviously score the chance that he has, but then even then, it's still followed with a bit of unluckiness. He hits Dubravka's ass and bounces onto the near post. It's like just one of them just to kind of bobble in and go in, but There's individual performances all over the pitch that I'm going to criticise today, but we'll get into that as this stream goes along. But yeah, I feel very conflicted, very frustrated. I don't think it's the end of the world. I really don't. I think a lot of fans are completely losing their minds over this. But what I will say is that now is 4 games in a row in which we've gone behind. And that's a little concerning.
Yeah.
We've shown against Bournemouth and Spurs and Wolves that we're capable of coming from behind and winning games. We should have beaten Bournemouth. We did beat Wolves, and obviously Spurs come back later on. But we have shown the capabilities of coming from behind. So, that is a good resilience to have. But you can't keep on going a goal behind and expecting to win games. You can't. So
No, absolutely not. And I think, for me, the fear started when that news broke from Fabrizio Romano last night saying that Okafor is out for 7 to 10 days, because I immediately thought, right, that probably means, well, there's only Jack Harrison left to put in. And look, Jack Harrison, for all his effort and endeavour, he has nothing in his locker. He has absolutely nothing in his locker. Not a cross, not a dribble, not a burst of pace. You're just watching that game going, I know exactly what Jack Harrison is going to do. And it's worked actually pretty well when he's come on and kind of locked down that left-hand side. But as someone to kind of rely on how many crosses did we have today, Jay, where it was just nowhere near a target? Jay, we must have had about 50 crosses in that game. And I can't remember one cross where you're going, yeah. It was like too high, first man. I'm just watching it, pulling my hair out, going, can we? It takes the piss, because obviously their goal is from their one cross of the game practically. That's really on point. And I'm just thinking, God, we've got such a danger man in the middle of the box in Dominic Calvert-Lewin, whose speciality is heading. You'd prefer it on his head than his feet when it comes to striking on goal, and we couldn't deliver. And I look at Jack Harrison, and this is why the fear started when Okafor's not, couldn't play, because you text in the group, imagine Okafor going at a 35-year-old Kyle Walker today. Just that bit of trickery and that bit of difference. And I felt like him and Brendan have actually complemented us quite well, because Brendan is that hard-working kind of guy. Do you know what I mean? But I think you're absolutely right. When you're relying on Brendan Aronson to be your main creative spark, I think you have got problems. I think you've absolutely got problems. I think my concern is, and it's kind of the nightmare situation, 3 wingers out, left with your bare bones. Jack Harrison is a bare bone. There's no doubt. He's come back to the club with his tail between his legs. And there's if there's no doubt, looking at those positions, you go, that is where we feared we would be left short at the end of the transfer window by not getting more quality in there. And that's exactly what has happened. So there is big concern. That is a concern, because I thought we set up fine. I thought it looked fine. I thought, we were knocking the ball around and we're comfortable. And, the XG, I put it in the group, again, we've won on the XG. We've got almost one whole XG goal ahead of Burnley today. Again, that's happened a couple times. But we just haven't got that quality in the final third. We've just not got that thing that's going to get us over the line. And it's costing us. It's really costing us.
The problem without Okafor is the attack is so rigid. Everybody wants the ball to the feet, and then they end up going sideways and backwards. There's no kind of quality to kind of get themselves out of the little tight spaces. Like I said, I'm being complimentary of Brendan again today, because I actually thought he showed the moments where we did do that. He knocked the ball through the legs of the fullback in the second half, got to the byline, whipped the cross in. He was showing odd moments, and I'm being really, really clutching at straws with it. But that is all we had. I was really, really disappointed with Jack Harrison, if I'm honest. I thought after his cameos, I thought, you know what, he's got an opportunity. He's starting his first game again for Leeds United away at Burnley. This is a good opportunity for you to whip some balls in and get him to Calvert-Lewin, and stake your claim for your starting spot while Okafor's injured. I thought it was horrendous today.
Jack Harrison. Jay, he offers nothing.
He's the one that picks up the ball that's given the turnover for Brendan to have the chance, and he lays it on the play, but he can't. I could have played that pass on. It weren't a difficult pass to play. But in terms of what he did down his side, he constantly went backwards. He was looking for Gabby to make the difficult runs and the difficult movements and the difficult runs. We win a free kick towards the on the edge of the Burnley box. Sorry, that was Gabby who picked the ball up from deep and was running into them spaces. I mean, for large parts, certainly in the second half, without Gabby, we'd have had nothing. We'd have had nothing creatively. He was our only real outlet. So yeah, he's like I say, I'm so conflicted with the way that I feel about today, because I think there's moments that we need to, in isolation, really pick apart and worry about. The creativity is a problem and has been a problem, and it's even more of a problem when we've got such key injuries in them areas. I'm not Nonto's biggest fan, but it gives us something a little bit different to work with in them areas. Dan James being fully fit will make a big difference, especially from the off. When they're playing low block, it's hard for Dan James to kind of affect the game in the same way. But Okafor being missing is massive. I truly believe that first half goes differently with Okafor in the side, because he's just got that little bit of dynamism. I mean, Gabby was absolutely terrorising Kyle Walker at times in the second half, and Kyle Walker's lost that yard of pace which used to make him a good defender, and Okafor would have had him, I think, on toast, to be honest. But that little bit of quality that he still does have is worth having in there for them moments that they showed. I mean, they're bringing Ashley Barnes on, for Christ's sake. It shows the lack of quality that they have. You know what I mean? So yeah, Zane Fleming starting. I mean, he's a championship striker at absolute best. They had such a lack of quality, in my opinion. I mean, their team is arguably worse than it was last season. CJ Egan-Riley went over to France. They're replacing with Twanzebe, who's not as good. James Trafford left, and they've got Dubravka in it, who they think's a bit of a bomb scare. No Josh Brownhill in that midfield. They're poor, really. They're really, really poor. I think that regardless of how the result played out today, I think they will be one of the bottom three, regardless. And that's not being salty. I just think it's the way that I kind of see it based on what we've seen from them. So, yeah, mate. I can't remember where I got to with that. I'm a little bit off.
No, I mean, there were a period, when we went 1 down, and for the rest of the half, we're just knocking at that door. We're just knocking at that door. And they had nothing. They had no resistance to that. They couldn't keep the ball at all. They didn't create any other opportunities. They were literally just sat off as low block and hoping to scrape through. And our sheer lack of being able to create anything, and yeah, a couple of half chances, and obviously Aronson is the huge chance. But yeah, it's a real difficult one, Jay. It's a real difficult one because it's we talked about potentially this happening. It could be a defeat, and look, we're still trending at 8.
I'm not shocked.
No, we're still trending at 8 points after 8 games. It's still 1 point per game, that target that Farker has said. But it's obviously the feeling around it, the context of it makes us feel, not great with it. And yeah, I mean, I didn't know. One of my big worries in today, Jay, was I don't know where he changes the game. I don't know. When you can't bring on another winger, I mean, yes, Dan James is there, but, he's clearly not fit, and he's just come back from injuries 5 weeks ahead of schedule, for God's sake. But when you can't bring on a little bit more quality in those areas, it just feels like I didn't know where he was going to turn to. Yes, it's like the last 10 minutes of the game. What was that? I mean, it was like... Yeah. Nemecha, Piru, it was just right. We didn't do anything. We didn't do anything at that point because it was just a mess.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. I mean, he looks to his bench and he's trying to change the game. Yeah. Because immediately I was quite critical of how the subs and how it then affected the game. But you're right. What does he do? How does he change it with what he's got available? You bring on attackers and you try and change the flow of the game. The facts is that they're not going to impact the game in the same way, especially when you don't have a creative spark as such. Dan James is direct, but he's not creative. I know that sounds ridiculous. He's obviously going to whip balls in and have opportunities to score and assist, but the creativity is not there like a Pablo Hernandez, a Samu Saiz, a Willie Nonto. Willie Nonto has got that little bit of dynamism about him to create them chances. So it's difficult. Pirro, you could say, has got them, but has he got it at Premier League level? Mecha just feels a bit like a a body up there that's useful. He's not going to change the flow of the game. And I mean, even if some of them had to come off, you have no idea whether we'd have finished some of them anyway. Rodon puts one straight at the keeper. There's a few other half chances. Jayden Bogle puts one over the bar. There's a conversation about Jayden Bogle as well. I actually think he's been really, really poor.
He read my mind. He's dropped off massively. He has
since he took that knock. I can't remember what game it was, but he's not been the same going forward. He's not been the same at overlapping. His deliveries have been poor. His finishing's been poor when he then has got through on goal. I do think there's an element within the Premier League system that he's a bit more restricted, which is understandable. I think he's a little bit more restricted than Gabby is on the other side. But there's something in his overall game at the minute that's kind of missing. And like I said, I can go through a few that I'm not happy with today. And I got absolutely battered on TikTok on your upload about Anton Stack. I thought it was horrendous today. I thought it was really, really bad. Really bad.
He looked like Lurch, this tall thing in the middle with no guile, no kind of can't look after the football, poor decision making. I agree.
Yeah, I thought he ambled around. I thought his decision making was really poor. I thought it was weak at times in the tackle. You know, I made the point that the midfield battle would be where the game is won and lost, and it often is. And we didn't do enough in there creatively. I don't know why I can't say that today. Or defensively, we weren't good enough, including Ampadu as well. Ampadu wasn't great in there either. But out of the three of them, Stack was the complete weak link. And you know what? Tanaka come on, and I thought he was really poor as well. I thought his decision making, I didn't have long, I will say that, but a couple of passes that he did have, underhit, overhit, you know, just sloppy. And don't get me started. I don't even know if I want to start discussing Pascal Struijk today because I might end up losing my mind. But yeah.
Yeah, no, the midfield, it feels as well now that Longstaff is on corners and everything, you're suddenly seeing the Stack, you know, goal chances created. Stat is sinking like a stone. He had the free kick. It was a good effort, but apart from that, that was it. And yeah, Tanaka, when he came on, didn't kind of dazzle. But I'm wondering if it, you know, does it get to a point where you can kind of, I mean, there was a free kick. Stack did it again where he gave a free kick away in the first half. Do you remember? Where he barges into the guy. I'm like, he's doing this every single game. He's barging someone over and giving the opposition a really good position for a free kick. It's like, how many aren't you learning by now? Aren't you up to speed with this by now? So it's frustrating because I think, you know, he's the one where we're looking at where we think the bar is higher with him, but I don't know if this position is suiting him at the minute. I don't know
it's the role.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily think he's good enough for this kind of, I don't know, box to box kind of, you know, when he's kind of in the final third. I'm not too sure. And I think, you know, with someone with Tanaka's quality, although, you know, not great today, I just wonder if there's an argument you bring him in because, you know, it's a bit of a liability at the minute, his Stack. You know, he's costing us some good chances against teams. And he's new to the Premier League. It's a huge jump. And, you know, this is where I'm looking at the manager going, don't be afraid to change things. Look, you've lost the game today. Maybe we could have got others involved. Maybe Tanaka can come in for Stack today. Don't have to be so afraid to change things. Do you know what I mean? At this stage, I think, you know, Bijol, I mean, you know, let's have it. And I know you mentioned about Struijk there, but, you know, I mean, that leading to that second goal, you know, it's abysmal again, you know, and his pass was wayward, you know, and it leads to them countering on us under no pressure. And you've got a big signing sat there with very, very good stats. Is it not the time to go, right, you're in, you're back in, you're in, we're going to give you a go?
He's just not a very good centre-back, Brownie. Like, he's a championship level centre-back, is Pascal.
Yeah.
I'll just say it time and time again. Lack of concentration, both in possession and out of possession. He is too passive as a defender at times. He'll wait and wait and wait. He's good in the air, but is he that great in the tackle? I don't think so.
No.
Doesn't dictate the play in the way that Joe Rodon does. Joe Rodon's doing the work of two centre-backs at times. That's how it looks. That's how it feels when I'm watching. I mean, his distribution today was shocking. Yeah. And I get battered all the time online for saying that his distribution's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah.
You know, he'll play the odd one clip into the channel and it'll look great, but what about all the ones that weren't great before that? He's fully responsible for the second goal. He gives away possession and then doesn't close the chance down. It compounds his issue, compounds his original error. He doesn't attack the ball properly for the second. It's a great cross, I will say that. It is. It's a fantastic cross from Kyle Walker. But again, it's right in between the two. And when it comes over the head of Pascal, it's his fault. It's his fault. Joe Rodon's the centre-back behind that. He's got another player. It's Pascal's man. So I don't know what anybody else wants to say. You cannot defend him. It's pure agenda at this point.
But the thing is that on a day like today, he's terrible under pressure.
Yeah,
Strike is absolutely terrible. Do you remember the game against QPR or something? And he was lobbing bombs back to Melier. He is so bad when the pressure is on and when it's really up against it. Strike is woeful. And I urge anyone, go back 3 years ago when we got relegated. Look what Jamie Carragher said about him and how bad he was. Why is this forgotten?
We're saying the same things, man. I mean, he looked so uncomfortable in possession today. So uncomfortable. He's like tippy-toeing on the ball and he just, he's trying desperately to get the ball onto his left foot to pass the ball 2 yards to Joe Rodon. It's like, he's a bomb scare, man. He's a bomb scare. He's a bit of a calamity. He has got bozo genes. That's the word that people were slamming me for saying. Him and Anton Stack have both got bozo moments in them, especially Pascal Struijk. Anton Stack's got loads of time on his hands in a Leeds shirt, and I'm not ready to chuck him to the wolves. And we've got to be careful not to just go overboard on this either. I'm seeing it in the chat. Rangers and Leeds are car crashes under the 49ers this season. That's a nonsense. Sorry, it's not. It's a nonsense, Paul, because our aim is to finish 17th. We've looked very competitive throughout the season so far. Today's going to sting, but let's not go too far the other way either, because that's just a nonsense. At the minute, we're still in and around where we need to be. So,
is there a problem? My worry with this is when you're playing well and you're competitive, but you're not getting the points, how long before that starts to infect things? Where
I hear it. Yeah.
And I'm really worried about that because, great, pat ourselves on the back. We were competitive, but we didn't win. We lost. It's like, how long before that becomes an issue? Just quickly finishing up on the Struijk thing. Bijol, your opinion? Get him in now?
He has to play, mate. He's just a better centre-back. It's as simple as that. He's just a better player. It's not rocket science for me. And I mean, I'm hoping that words don't come back to eat us and we see that. And if the words do come back to eat us, then that's on the 49ers and the recruitment. But the player that I believe that he is levels above Pascal Struijk. And we're seeing the same deficiencies in Pascal Struijk's game that we've seen for the last 3 years.
Yeah,
this is no shock. He was poor at championship level. We got away with it because we were just so much better. And we looked continuously better when Pascal Struijk was injured and he came out of the team. Season 1 under Farker, we looked better. And we ended up, unfortunately, losing the final, but we looked better. Season 2, we looked a lot better when Ampadu was in the back line. So, I
just want to pull this one up here just from Skip. Thought Ampadu wasn't great today as a leader. We lacked communication all over. I was frustrated with Ampadu today. I want to see the Ampadu versus Everton. Where's that Ampadu gone? Who's
we're part today.
Marauding and charge. I feel like, where's he? Where was that? Where was that Ampadu?
Sorry, I'm just reading the comments as you're chatting. We're gonna go. We knew that this were gonna come tonight. I mean, me and you both said before coming on stream, it's gonna be one of them streams tonight, one of them streams. And me and Brownie both know what we mean when we say that. The management conversation turns up. It kind of feels like the first moment of real kind of dour negativity since coming back into the Premier League. I know we've had other mishaps in the 8 games so far, but today kind of feels a little bit different because of the context. Burnley being the other day. Bear in mind, like, everybody's glowing lyrical about Sunderland. They also lost to Burnley at Turf Moor. Yeah, so again, context, apply it, perspective, apply it. Yeah. But Gav won't have been able to wait for this moment for Farke and to jump all over Farke. Been dead quiet, Gav, about Farke and the criticisms towards him over the last 3-4 weeks, when everybody's been saying that the performances have been very good and we've been getting some results. 1 loss. Or are you including Tottenham? Were you expecting us to beat Tottenham? So would today have been okay if we'd have been Tottenham? No, it wouldn't. So you've been waiting for this moment. And that is what you will see online with regards to Daniel Farke and the reputation. The way that we've set up over the 8 games, given the squad that he has got, has been very, very solid, has been very good. He's making the most of what he's got. When Noah Okafor's out, Willie Gnonto's out, Dan James is coming back, our creativity is going to be limited. What is he meant to do? Like, we don't have a 10. Like, people are saying, well, we should have played a 10. Who? We've spent the last year saying that Brendan Harrison can't play there. And then we wouldn't have had anybody out on the right anyway. So what do you do? I'm happy.
Farke wanted that. Farke asked for it. Farke wanted somebody else in those attacking areas. He said it explicitly.
If Harry Wilson comes in, and we can't make it all about Harry Wilson, because I don't think he revolutionises the season. No. But if he's within the squad today, he plays out on the right, and Brendan could go into the 10. Or you have that little bit more creativity, quality within that area of the pitch, and we create more chances. At the minute, we don't have it. Where are the goals coming from? Where would the goals come from, Gav, for any manager taking over this squad? Where would they come from? This isn't a Daniel Farke problem. This is an ability, squad depth, quality problem. I'm happy to have that conversation with regards to the 49ers. Like, I think that makes a lot more sense than laying this at the door of Daniel Farke. Personally, I think it makes a lot more sense. But even that, we know we've got restrictions with what we can and can't do. We know we've got restrictions brought about over the last few years worth of club management. We know we have them restrictions. So we have to make the most of what we've got. And over these 8 games, I would say today's probably his most disappointing performance, if I'm honest, outside of Arsenal, obviously. But I would say we've got the most of what we've got. I really did. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And as soon as I knew Okafor was out, I was really worried about what we were going to do in that final third, and it's played out. Digger here, thanks for your comment. Poor recruitment from the 49ers. If Farke continues to play Harrison, he doesn't have much choice. It could end in Farke getting sacked on relegation. Sorry, I'm not happy tonight. Let's scroll up and check some of your comments here. Johnny, I hope you're all right, mate. We dropped vital points against a relegation rival. Yeah, true. Gav, 2 free transfer strikers. Tom, we still need that creative number 10, even if it means changing formation. But like Jay said, then who's going to be that creative one? Gav again, Sunderland's quality recruitment paying dividends. They're now 7th. We signed 2 freebies. Let's have a look, Paul. Rangers have been awful and Leeds won't win again under Farke. Oh, I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see. See what happens next week. It's an even bigger game then. Skip. In reference to goal scoring opportunities, do you think we are creating enough chances for the attack? Well, it feels to me it's kind of like we are carving out opportunities. We carved out some, opportunities today. We have no guile. We have no finesse. We have no, of anything like that. But we still managed to create chances. I think the problem for me is, and to be fair to Farke, this is why he wanted more up top. You've seen it there today. He knew he needed more top. It's like, I don't know what else you can do. If you've got Jack Harrison on the pitch who can't dribble, can't outpace, can't cross, can't shoot, can't beat a man, What are you meant to do? You can't make him do any of those things. And we were forced today to have to play Jack Harrison because we had nothing else. And I do feel this was the worry at the end of the transfer window, is that we weren't going to have enough in the attacking positions. Today, that has 100% played out. There's no arguing about it.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring this comment up from Gav. Gav, the stage is yours. What would you do? What would you have done different to what he had at his disposal? We were speaking about it earlier. You look at that bench, and I openly said just a few minutes ago, like I'm not that happy with the way that the changes in the game went either. But what other option does he have than what he did? He doesn't. He has nobody creative within that bench that can really change the game in that area of the pitch. Yeah. People will say Tanaka for Stack. It's not the change that you think it is.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't know. Like,
I think we're a bit limited with what we can do in this squad, aren't we? I mean, let's be honest. We're a promoted team. We all knew we were completely up against it. I think he's got to help himself. I think get Perry back in as fast as you can. Get Bijol in. Get the quality. Get the big fees in. The big players that you signed for big money. Get them in. Get the quality up.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
I was just going to make the point about Darlow. We're seeing the limitations of Darlow.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, I'm not saying that he should save the second one. He goes over his hand. I think it's a worldie. But he shanks the ball out of play for the first one. Yeah. Kyle Walker throw, it goes back out. Kyle Walker cross comes in. So that was partly down to Darlow as well. There is defending to be done then after, but again, we're quick to jump all over certain players. And when things go wrong, and a couple of weeks ago, Cal Darlow shouldn't come out of the starting lineup for some fans, and he's barely made a save since. If we're honest, a lot of the work that we do in defending the goal comes from the defending that we do as a unit, rather than the individual performances of the goalkeeper. Like I've referenced Nick Pope a few times for Burnley. But Nick Pope used to single-handedly keep Burnley in games. He used to win them points on his own, just keeping teams out. Darlow's not capable of doing that. Now, we don't know if Lucas Perry is capable of doing that either yet, but we're hoping he is. So he's a number one. He definitely comes back in. I know we're jumping around a lot here, guys, so I do apologise.
We are.
Frustrated, are we? Like, it's just, I get really frustrated when we then just hold no perspective or context to the situation. I'm going to be a staunch defender of the manager until I see it as fair that he gets the wrong end of the stick from the fan base, and we're nowhere near that yet. I'm able to objectively look over these 8 weeks and say that I think Daniel Farke's actually elevated himself. I think we've both said that. I actually think he's looked even more the Premier League manager than I hoped he would be. He's been able to redesign the system to be able to be super competitive in every single game apart from the Arsenal one. That's really good when you consider that the team's not good enough. Most of the fans that are in here that are slamming Daniel Farke will also slam the team for not being good enough. So it can't be both. Well, it can be both, actually. That's wrong. But we can't see the quality of the performances that we've seen and then not give Daniel Farke credit if the players are not good enough. No. Do you get what I mean? And I think I articulated that right.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's what my feeling is, and that's why it's so vital. You can't have players being injured, who are good. You just can't afford it. We can't have that. Skip, what is wrong with Nonto? Is he injured? Yeah, he's had a little hernia op as well that needed cleaning up. So I think he's back in team training next week. I mean, that's just bad luck situation, is it? Injuries, and I mean, God, it's funny because you look at that attack as well, and I was thinking this the other day, and it's like what I would give for a Somerville, Crescencio Somerville in this team. I would cry out for it. What I would do for Rutter today, if we had Solomon, I would be buzzing. The Solomon we know, the level of, if we had any of them, yet we're in the Premier League a level up, and we've not. Yes, we got Okafor, and we're excited by Okafor. I'm worried about his durability and his injury record, but you made a great point. we had the same concerns with Solomon last year, and it saw itself right.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed the same happens with him. But yeah, I just look at it and I just go, I just don't know what else we can do, and hopefully things start falling for us a little bit more. Can we have it feels like we work so hard to create chances, and then a team just whips across it, smashes it from 35 yards, it goes in. It hits Goodmanson in the face and goes in the last minute. Do you know what I mean? It's like, is this it? Is this what it's going to be like now? Do you know? Come on.
It does feel very much like over the 8 games that we've not had any rub of the green, really. I would say outside of maybe the handball on the opening game of the season, we've not really had much go for us. Goodmanson, obviously the own goal, the last minute equaliser, the ball under the wall like for Semenyo, like the half chances that we've created that have just not gone in. It just kind of feels a little bit like that. And then again today, there were loads of half moments in the box, and we're just not quite there. But yeah, you have to hope that eventually turns for you, but turns for you before it's too late. And
before the morale drops,
you do make a really good point.
I think everything.
100%. I think the main negative about the performances not coming through to results is exactly that. Is that belief starts to go, and then the man management requirement increases even more to keep them at that level, even though it's going wrong. So look, I said this before a ball was kicked this season. We're gonna go through several periods of the season where we lose a lot of games. We've lost 2 on the bounce. It's not that deep, and it's not that much of a shocker. Now, obviously, if it starts getting to 3, 4, 5, 6, sure, but Wolves are not throwing in the towel. They'll lose again today. They're still not out of even touch. They've not won a game. They've got 2 points on the board. They've lost, 6 out of 8? Yeah, 6 out of 8. And they're still only 2 points out of the bottom, out of safety. That's the Premier League. This is what we wanted. So we just Burnley are gonna pick up points, and unfortunately they've come against us today. But they're gonna pick up points. So we just have to make sure that we don't have a complete meltdown and just want to set it all on fire. Because we beat West Ham on Friday. Gav will shut up again for another week, and we'll go through this whole process all over again. Yeah, we're far away from needing to set it all on fire. Yeah, we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Gav has replied about what he would do as well. So I would start Perry, Bijol and Tanaka on Friday. All 3 are better quality than KD, PS and BA.
You'd start Tanaka at right wing. Gav, you do the debating for me, mate. I don't even have to reply to
that. Digger, I would have brought Somerville back. I mentioned that to a few different content creators, and they basically shook their heads. I don't get it. Well, I don't think we'd get. We would get him back, but I would 100% take him in a breath. Absolutely. And yeah. Sometimes that sun ain't shining on you, is it, Jay? Really? Sometimes in football, it is what it is. It'd be interesting to see. Because this Sunderland thing as well, it's going to be there all season. We're not going to get rid of it because they started below Leeds and Burnley in the terms of they were the promoted team through the playoffs, which removes the context of they had loads of PSR room and were able to spend more money than us and do all these kind of things. But I know they've had injuries to 2 midfielders, Siddiqui and Diarra, both been injured. But, it's like I watched the game against Forest, and Forest must have had about 15 clear-cut chances and couldn't beat them. Sometimes it just goes like that. I'm going to see if there's any comments coming in from Farker.
The situation with Sunderland, I think they've had a few players that have acclimatised to the Premier League really well, that were within that squad. Don Ballard, Isidore have really stepped up, Trey Hume as well. They've certainly got more creativity than us, and they've got more options to change the game at the minute than us.
Yeah,
that's how it's feeling. They have more wiggle room, they have more recruitment capability. I still think throughout the 8 games up until today, I don't know if you can now say that after today, we've looked the better of the 2 teams. I don't know how much that matters with points on the board now. I said to you before the game, and I'm contradicting myself a little bit here, but the result today mattered more than the performance. So I have to be upset. Of course I'm upset. Of course I'm upset. Of course I want us to not lose this game. But I mean, I'd have taken a point at kickoff. I would have done. I'd have taken a 1-1 draw and get on to Friday. And you've taken 2 points off Burnley, potentially moving up the table. We're seeing what's going on down at the bottom of the Premier League at the minute. Forest obviously stunk the place out again today, sack, and they're on fire. That's on fire. Yeah, they're in real trouble. I know they've got some quality within that side, but when the storm hits, it doesn't matter what the ability is. Sometimes we've seen better teams than that Forest team go down. We've seen few actually. Villa, I think of, Newcastle, I think of, and maybe even the Leeds team that went down. The Leeds team that went down is a great example. When it's burning behind the scenes, what then happens on the pitch, it transpires into something different than it maybe should do, especially when they're going through managers at the rate that they're going through. So who's going to want that job now?
Well, you're looking at, I mean, I'm looking at them. They've got Morgan Gibbs-White, they've got Elliot Anderson, they've got Douglas Luiz. You're going, surely there's enough there to do something. But then they're on about hiring Sean Dyche. He's not their type of manager. Dyche, those 3 players are not Dyche players.
Well, he's more Nuno, isn't he? He's more Nuno ball than Ange ball.
Yeah,
I think that's why it would make potentially logical sense of what they've done all pre-season. So I get it on some. It'll stabilise them defensively, but you're right.
It feels like too much of a swing that way.
Yeah.
It's like Nuno's about there, and Dyche is like there.
Yeah.
And those type of players are going to be turned off by that time. But I could be wrong. We know they've got quality, but like you say, worse teams have suffered and gone down. Couple of post-match comments coming in. Going to have some reaction from Parker as well. So let's have a look. Parker. So he said there was not a clear connection from Brendan. Top save, but I would have preferred a different finish. I cannot blame him. It's not like he did not want to score. Maybe overexcited and keen to score the goal. Team needed to be calmer with their chances today. I will say about that Brendan chance, I mean, I had, again, and there's several Leeds players I can talk about this in the squad. I have absolutely no belief that they will put the ball in the back of the net in a 1-on-1 situation or where the goal is there and nobody's trying to tackle him. I didn't believe he would put it in the net, and he didn't. And it was, when you've watched it, it hits it straight at the keeper, basically. It is unlucky that it, the way it deflects, but it's just, it just says everything. We just don't have that quality. So, I get where Farker's coming from with that.
You're spot on, mate. I mean, if Calvert-Lewin had strode up to that, you'd have felt exactly the same as Brendan, wouldn't you?
Jack Harrison, any of them.
The only player that you would have had confidence in scoring that would have been Noel Rockefeller.
Yeah,
he's the only one that you think has got that arrogance and the composure when you throw on goal to slot it in. So you're right, mate. You're right. I mean, I've seen Gav's comment about the 2 free transfers as main strikers. Go and have a look at the other deals that have gone on throughout the window at the bottom of the division. Number 9s don't fly around that often, and you're talking 20, 30, 40 million pound on one player to improve on what we've got. You are like Sunderland are still racking up with Isidore. They did sign Broby. I don't think he's even played yet by the looks of it. But they signed Mike Gueye, who's gone back to Chelsea on loan. They're still racking up with their Championship number 9. And we're waxing lyrical about Sunderland. So I actually think the recruitment of the 9 was now, in hindsight, smarter than we thought it was.
Yeah.
The problem isn't the 9. The problem is the bit further back from that's creating that number 9 chances. I just thought Calvert-Lewin had a good game today, on the whole. Flick towards the back post for Jayden Bogle, that should be a goal. He has a couple of half moments himself. He linked play as well as he possibly could do in that kind of game. It's the players around him that are the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Request here, Diggler. Jason, can you play us a song on your guitar? Maybe the blues or something. We need it tonight.
I cannot play the guitar at all. I got that guitar bought for me when I was 18. And I tried to learn for about 3 months and never picked it up again since. And now it's like an ornament. It's like a well-placed kind of decoration in the room. That's it.
Farker as well. So we spoke about, here we go. We spoke about offence in the summer. We have the situation we have. Players are out. and had James on the bench as an emergency case. Tricky in this moment. Players we could have been, players we had could have been more effective. Not confidence problem. Just one team playing today. Football can be like this. Yeah, I mean, look, I think, I know people were saying, and I think I probably mentioned it as well, as, oh, well, he can't keep harking back to that. But in a way, it's like, well, he has every right to kind of defend himself and say, well, I did say this. Like Farke said he needed more offensively, and he didn't get it. So he's got every right. Why not? Why not remind people?
100%. And he also has the right to defend himself. Like, he can't go out onto the pitch and score the goals. We had 19 shots today and 70% possession. He's away from home, and they had 4. They score 2 goals out of basically nothing. Like, it has to be fair again. You have to. This is what drives me mad. Like, it's not just as simple as we lose a game, it's Daniel Farke's fault. We win a game, it's the players. Like, today, in my opinion, the half moments that made the difference, it's on the players. It's not on Daniel Farke. Same as we used to say this under Bielsa. When the days came that it didn't go right under Bielsa, it was down to the fact that the players had not done the instructions in the way that they should have done. It's as simple as that. Like, and quality makes a huge part of that as well. Some of it's not even the players' fault.
No, I'll be honest. I mean, if you were a Nuno, for example, before obviously he's gone to West Ham, I don't think there'd be many, those top managers or those managers. I don't think there'd be a lot looking at this league. There'd probably be ones that will give it a go, but I would worry about the level of manager we were getting when they look at that squad. They could be a little bit like, well, what have I got to work with here? Do you know what I mean? Nuno goes into West Ham. He's got Bowen, he's got Somerville, he's got Paqueta, he's got all these. You look at that Leeds squad. If you're a manager with something about you, I'm not sure you probably end up with a bloody Javi Gracia or anything else. Do you know what I mean?
Gathered sack Farke today, right? But he would have no clue who to replace him with, because you're spot on. The managers that would come in that would take the risk to keep this side up are minimal. We'd end up, if Sean Dyche doesn't go for us, we'd end up with Sean Dyche at best.
At best.
Like, at best, mate.
Yeah.
We'd probably end up with somebody like Danny Rowe.
Yeah.
That's done really well at championship level, and we probably would.
Might work at Premier League.
And fans would be like, oh shit, like, we needed to be careful what we wish for here. Or somebody that would be desperate for a role like Javi Gracia, who would just think, well, you know what, I might be able to pull something off. We wouldn't end up with the managers that people think that we would. We're not at that stage of the development.
No, we're not.
Like, I like Daniel Farke and what he's created this year, right? But if we finish 17th and we sack Daniel Farke after game week 38, thank you, Daniel. We've now managed to replace him with Knutson or a new Iriola or what. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
This isn't the Daniel Farke show. I care about the badge. That's it. I don't personally care about Daniel Farke. I actually actively think, and the logic would suggest that he's the best available option for this club right now.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. Yeah, and if we can shake hands, and if there's investment in the summer, and we can upgrade the squad, and they think, there's somebody out there that we've targeted, like Iriola version 2.0, Brill, bring it on all day long. Not bothered, but this current situation, no. Scott Parker as well, he's had a little say as well. So Scott Parker showed our quality when we needed to, find margins of what we do, reliant on bits of brilliance. Yep. First goal was that with Walker's cross. Execution of the header. Second goal epitomises that too. At the end, when you need to have some nous, there is no coach. You are relying on men and going off script. I saw a team that was every bit able to do that. He's going to be delighted. I mean, he's kind of funny actually, because not in a similar position as Farke, but reputationally, it's a big season for both of them, isn't it? As managers, can you survive? Can you be up to it? What's going on, kind of thing. But he's right. I mean, 2 bits of quality has done it for them, hasn't it? And we didn't have that all day long.
Oh, very, very fair comments. You know, he's going to be buzzing. They went about the job in the way that he sets his teams up, and it worked today. Yeah. More often than not in the Premier League, it won't work. It won't. They won't stay up playing like that. As much as they've got 3 points on the board today, it won't, because the quality that they're going to come up against most weeks is going to be so much better. And, you know, it does require either some moments of brilliance or a look continuously to then do that. You know, the cross and the finish today, most weeks they won't score a goal today and they'll draw the game 0-0 or probably lose. You know, if we don't go 1-0 down, they can't sit as far back and we probably end up catching them at some point. So, you know, over a 38 game season, that performance and style doesn't stay up. But Scott Parker's probably looked at it and thought, you know what, with what I've got, this is the best opportunity, the best I can do. You know, stay in games, try and pick up enough points here, there, and everywhere, and come 10 games left of the season, are we still within touching distance where we can pull a miracle off? Yeah. You know, it will be a miracle if that Burnley side stays up. They're not very good. You know, Josh Cullen, I mean, they're bringing Ashley Barnes on Browning. Like, they're not good. They're not good. But they made it work.
Frustrated to lose to them because they're just not good. Yeah. It's just so annoying to lose the game because it's like they're just, I don't know, we've lost it. I really don't.
I wouldn't want to be them. I really wouldn't. Like, I mean, to go about winning games in that manner is a bit. But it is what it is. Like, you've got to understand your position within the footballing ladder. They're up against it, and you know they have all of the deficiencies, none of the kind of resources that even we have. So you know they're going about it in the only way that they probably feel like they can. And fair play. And you know Scott Parker, I wasn't a fan of what he did and the way that they set about it last season, but you can't actually knock it. No. They still managed to get 100 points, and they're still being competitive enough to be in and around, you know, making a relegation battle at the minute competitive. So, and they get fair play to them today. They get the result on the board. It's all, like I said before the game, that's all that mattered today.
Yeah, absolutely. Another comment from Farker that's in, went wrong in both boxes. Cannot have better stats than we did away from home today. Possession, shots, big chances, XG, corners. Even when Arsenal, Man City, etc. come here, they will not repeat that. Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at that game statistically, it is absolutely baffling. I think you put in the group, it feels like a football manager, one of those football manager results, doesn't it? Where it's done you. What's that like inside the dressing room now, do you think, Jason, where players are sat round kind of looking at each other and thinking, okay, we've done okay in certain points today. We're kind of, you know, doing what we're told to do. We're trying to do this. I mean, how do they kind of move on from this? I mean, is it just a literal case of you just forget about it? You just, right, Friday, West Ham, let's go again. Let's not lose confidence. I mean, what do you think it'd be like inside that dressing room right now?
I mean, it's a tough one. It requires the leaders to really step up, not just Daniel Farker, but Ampadu, Darlow, you know, Longstaff, yeah, and others. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I would consider probably a leader within this dressing room now, amongst others. You know, when you start this season as a newly promoted club, you're going to have to be mentality monsters and keep your heads above the sand at all times, because you're going to lose a lot of games. You know, thank God it's not the fan base that's within the dressing room, because they'd have, you know, we'd lose every single game, wouldn't we? Because
give up already.
Yeah, we'd be down, wouldn't we? You know, some people are saying that we're already relegated. We're not even in bottom 3. You know what I mean? There might be a point in this season where we're bottom. I still won't say that it's done. You know, like we have to be really, really strong and make sure that we bridge that gap to the quality, because that's what we're going to be doing most weeks. You know, even when West Ham rock up on Friday, we're going to be bridging a gap to quality because we don't have the same quality. It's as simple as that. So I think they'll be fine, mate. I really do. You know, we've seen time and time again that this team are able to bounce back from disappointments and negatives. We did the same after the Fulham. Fulham last minute, that sucked, and it really did sting. And we came back and we beat Wolves away, and we then brought Bournemouth to Ellen Road, and we got a good point. Should have been 3, but we played really, really well that day against a really informed side. They end up, I don't know if you saw that game today, that were a bit of a barnstormer. They were 2-0 up and ended up being
Crazy.
Came
3
back,
0.
97th minute equaliser from Mateta hat trick. He's a beast. He's an absolute beast, is that lad. So yeah, you know, we've shown that we're capable of bouncing back. I think it'll sting, but again, I think they'll be able to look at it objectively and say, you know, on a lot of days we probably win this game, but we do have to start doing something to turn these should-haves into points.
Yeah.
That is the reality. That is the reality. Because even me, you know, I'm still choosing to see it like that after 8 games. I do think there'll come a point where I'm like, right, don't matter how we play, we just need to get the points on the board.
Yeah. It's, I mean, looking ahead to that game against West Ham, I mean, it, you know, not to get ahead of ourselves, but you look at that run of games after it, and you know, that next block of 4, Brighton away, we've got after that Forest away, Villa at home, who look rejuvenated, and then you're going into your really, really difficult block of games: Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City. You know, it's a tricky one, isn't it? It's a tricky one. I do think we could have done with at least a point today, really, looking ahead at those fixtures, because I mean, we're not favourites for any, are we? Really, probably today you're looking at us going, we're probably, you know, if you just look at, I mean, from what you've seen today, we're a better team than them, but we haven't got any points. But then you look ahead, and like you say, we've got to really find a way to turn those ifs, buts, and maybes into points and goals. Yeah. But it's hard. I mean, looking at them fixtures, you just look at it and go, oh.
Look, they're all bonus games, aren't they? Especially December, you know, and we have shown that we're very competitive. I think Spurs are one of the better looking sides in the division this season, and we arguably should have won that game. While you can still say that you should have won that game, it does then give you the optimism that we're capable of at some point pulling them ones around. They have an off day, and we go there and we take up the points. I think Ellen Road will always be ultra competitive, so we will pick. You know, I don't know if he's watching or not, but Downsy just stupidly said to us during the game, like, well, you know, if you're not going to win this game, where are you going to pick up points? And like, football's not as linear as that, and we're 8 games into a 38-game season. We've got 30 games to go. We're going to pick up plenty of points in games that we would expect to potentially not pick up any in. We are going to do. We've done that already. You know what I mean? I think Newcastle lose today.
I think they did, yeah. To Brighton, 2-1 to Brighton, yeah.
To Brighton, yeah. You know, like, results happen all the time. So I'm not. This doesn't now mean that we can't pick up. Bear in mind, we only picked up 1 point against Burnley last season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It's Lou, you know, part of the West Yorkshire Football Show channel. He made an interesting point on one of the Monday shows a couple of weeks ago, and his concerns for Leeds were. It was all, and I hope I'm kind of getting the gist of it right, but it's like, yes, Leeds are going to have to get unexpected points. They're going to have to get unexpected wins occasionally or somewhere. You know, that's going to have to be part and parcel of it.
It's funny, Brownie, but there is an element of the fact that Burnley away for us, and the way that we play and the way that they play, is more of a kryptonite for us than some more difficult teams.
Yeah.
You know, like, there genuinely is. Like,
yeah.
I would almost be more. I knew this was going to be a banana skin. I wasn't confident at all. I mean, I made the prediction the other day that we'd win the game, but I didn't really do it with chest. I always felt like a point was probably a good point here. And I am expecting Burnley to be able to pick up points at Turf Moor. Where better to do it, and who better to do it against than Leeds United? There is very much. Look at last season. For the blueprint, we really struggled against both Burnley, both home and away. Really struggled to create chances. So it's not a huge surprise, especially then when you drop out the X factor of the team in Noah Okafor. You know, I didn't expect to have been so desperate to see his name on the team sheet already as what it's feeling. And that does come down to the recruitment. It does, unfortunately. We needed more in that area of the pitch. I've seen quite a lot of smashing for how much we spent on the defensive rear guards, and Gudmundsson's the only one that's starting games. Bornau, Beal, Perry, all on the bench. I think Perry's
Justin as well.
And Justin, yeah, Perry's contextual, I will say that. But they do make a point with this. And this, again, where does it fall? Does it fall on Daniel Farke, or does it fall on the 49ers, or a bit of both? Could we have spent a little bit more of the James Justin and Bornau money on reinforcing that area of the pitch where we do look like we are extremely light. It's tough. It's really, really, really tough because football, again, it's just not as simple as clicking button on transfer deadline day and pulling someone in like it is on Football Manager. It's tough. It's tough to get that right.
Yeah, absolutely. Okafor, I mean, he's going to be out for the West Ham game as well. I mean, how worrying is that? Because you're looking at it and going, well, where's it could be the same issues again, couldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. While we're relying on Brendan Aronson, Jack Aronson, and Dan James, it's always going to feel really tough to create chances, I think, especially when Jayden Bogle's not playing very well. Jayden Bogle has been and is probably our most creative player when Okafor's not on the pitch. He's the one capable of dribbling past a player, opening up spaces, getting a good delivery into the box, and he's not doing it at the minute. Gabby, it feels like Gabby Goodmanson is the outlet for the creativity, and that's not good enough. It's not. He's just not good enough. I don't know what you do, and it's not my job to figure that out. And you know what? It might be beyond any manager to do it with what we've got. The flip-flopping from the fans is wild. Like, the facts is that we're sitting here saying that the team's not good enough, but then slamming Daniel Farke for not being able to figure it out. Well, maybe it's just not figure-outable. Do you play Brendan in the 10? Do you play Joe Pirro? I don't think that's the solution. Do you go two up top and lump it long to Calvert-Lewin? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know.
No, it's interesting, that point you've made about the transfers as well, and should we have, maybe invested some of that into attacking? The one thing I'd question with the 49ers is, have they got that killer instinct in the transfer market? Have they got that aggression of deals done and kind of, it's like loans, I mean, could we have not maybe exploited the loan market a little bit more? Or it does feel, and we said it at the time, that we've really left ourselves light, in that kind of area, just in terms of quality and everything. I know what you're saying. It's very difficult to get deals done. It's not Football Manager, but I don't know. I don't know. It's all speculation. We don't know behind the scenes, do we? We don't know how or what they've tried. But it'll be interesting. I mean, January transfer window. Do you think they'll potentially go back in? I mean, I would like them to do something. I think. Listen, it's almost gets to a situation where you might have to go pull the trigger on something, and PSR, right? Well, we'll just see where we're at in the summer. We'll make a sale in the summer because I do worry if there's going to be enough to actually fire us above relegation at this point.
I mean, we might have to. It depends on how it looks come the time. This ownership group have got a model that are very much about us being in the Premier League. They can't have us dropping. Somebody mentioned about being a yo-yo club earlier. That is not within their foresight. We can't be that. There'd be the case that would be strong to come again and all the rest of it, but that is not a world in what they want to enter into, because you then have the same issue again in another 2 years' time, even if we were to get back promoted again. And that's a big if. It's not easy to get out of the Championship, as Leicester, Southampton and Ipswich are seeing right now. So yeah, it's a real tough one. Real tough one. I don't know what your is there.
No, sorry, I was just going to say West Ham playing on Monday and then quicker turnaround.
Monday, Friday. Did they play on Monday night?
Yeah, they've got Brentford on Monday and then they're playing us the Friday. So a little, couple less days there. Might
huge game.
Yeah.
Brentford, West Ham. That's a real huge game. I mean, it definitely could make a difference.
Yeah, I'm like, why? It's weird, isn't it, how they've ended up getting stuck on, like.
Yeah.
But, it's bizarre, isn't it? But little things like that hopefully plays into our advantage, although I do remember when in the relegation season, West Ham had played in Europe on the Thursday. We'd had about 8 or 9 days off and still got absolutely battered on the Sunday. Pathetic. So it doesn't West Ham out for anything.
West Ham have still got a load of issues themselves. They're protesting against their ownership and they feel a little bit like a basket case club. I've always found West Ham a little bit of a funny club. Like, I've liked them and kind of secondhand supported them at times, especially when they had like Defoe and Carrick and Joe Cole. That was
good. Yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
Their fan base is they've got serious delusion problems. They think that they're really, really massive, and they're not. They're a bottom 7 Premier League club, as are we right now. Like, and they just have such a like, what's the word?
I know
Arrogance,
it's like
yeah.
There's the West Ham way in it and all that.
Yeah,
won the World Cup and all that kind of thing in it. So
they could well be within a relegation battle this year. Never has it been a more perfect storm for the promoted clubs in and around that bottom. Brentford, West Ham, Forest, especially Wolves as well. Them four, they're all ready to go down. They're all ready to go down, and we just need to make sure that come the end of game week 38, we sat on one more point than one of them, or three of them. Sorry, but you know what I mean. One of them in 18th. So,
what's your gut about Nuno though? Because Nuno being a manager to come into that situation, it's
West Ham
the best option for them, doesn't it? Almost really.
But West Ham will stay up. They've got too much quality within that starting 11 not to stay up. They'll score enough goals to keep them up, as I think Forest probably will as well. When they get themselves sorted out. Wolves, Brentford, I think will be in and around there. Although I do think Brentford have looked better than what I thought they would. I thought Brentford had really looked like they were going to struggle this season, and I think they've been actually a bit like us. They've been very, very competitive in every single game. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, after 10, 15 games, I think we can look at this and be like, right, it's a funny one because December's going to be rough, but you got to play everybody. You got to play everybody, mate. So you look at them and you just try and pick up as many odd points here or there as you possibly can. Don't get thumped.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? What kind of week are we in for then, Jay? Narrative wise and the discussion, what are we in for?
It's the same. It's the same rhetoric and spin that we'll see every single result. We'll probably beat West Ham on Friday. I hope we do, obviously, but we'll probably beat West Ham on Friday, and everybody will go dead silent and not give Farker any praise. Not anybody, because there's plenty of people that see it objectively and are giving him a fair shake. They'll say, told you so. The other ones will go quiet, and then we'll go and lose another game at some point, and it'll come back around again, because that's what happens. We should expect to lose plenty of games, even including those that are going to end up going down. If Leeds finish 17th, the likelihood is that we'll probably have lost the game of one of the teams that finish in the bottom three. Yeah. You can't sit and criticise the recruitment and say the players are not good enough, but then also slam the manager for not winning games with that same team. It doesn't make sense, especially when the 8 games that we've seen so far have been pretty productive and competitive, and we've shown a real good level. It's not fair, and it's just pointless, to be honest. If we'd have had the exact same results and the performances had stunk, I'd say, you know what, fair enough. You can label some of this at Daniel Farker, but that's not been the case. At the moment, what's catching us out is the lack of quality and a little bit of luck. So I just hope that we start getting either a little bit of the bounce that can sometimes come with us, or eventually, the guys that said it regardless will be right anyway, because that's what will happen with football managers. They'll all get sacked at some point or another anyway. So, yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the noise will be loud. I think it will be a lot of debate. I think, we talked about being able to switch off from content, generally speaking this season, more than probably ever, because things have been felt pretty relaxed. I think it might be a little bit of a different week in that respect. I think the noise will be loud. And I agree. I don't know what else Farker can do. I think he can help himself, maybe be all Perry, maybe they can come back into it. It might make little differences here and there. But it's a tough situation we're in because of the way PSR works. Because of all that, we have been limited more than Burnley and more than Sunderland in what we've been able to do. So I can, we don't know. until the books are released, if the 49ers were telling the truth about they spent every penny, we don't know that until the books are released. But I could fundamentally believe it is about right. We spent 100 million and we still find ourselves, quality-wise lacking. And that's the Premier League. We haven't got the luxury of having been in the Premier League for year on year and being able to build up quality. We didn't have the PSR scope that Sunderland have got. So it was always going to be an uphill battle. And like we've said, I think we've done about as well as we could. Probably before today, I was looking at it going, I think we've done about as well as we could.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough, and it'll be tough all season. And if we stay up, it's against the odds.
100%. I mean, I think I'm not going to say a miracle, but I think it's a minor miracle if he keeps us up. I do. Like, it's so difficult to stay up anyway.
No, but you're right. No, but sorry to interrupt, but fans are saying playing Jack Harrison and Brendan Aronson together in 2024 or 2025, whatever.
Yeah.
How can this be? It's like, that's what we've got.
That's what he's dealing with.
That's what we've got. They're the only players, the only fit wingers.
I mean, I've just seen a stat here: 54 shots in the last 3 games, and we've got 1 point. I mean, that's not a manager that's not been capable of creating a system to score us chances. 54 shots, guys, 1 goal, 1 point. Sorry, I mean that's mental, really. I've just seen the last comment from Steve. I do think that Daniel Farke needs to make sure that he's helping himself as much as possible. I'll just pop it up. He makes a good point, and I do think that Daniel Farke's not perfect. If he were perfect, he wouldn't be the manager of Leeds United. So he's going to make mistakes, and he has got certain stubbornnesses within his makeup that will help him negatively and positively. For every time that he gets an Illan Meslier wrong last season, he's then also got it right with other decisions that he's dealt with in exactly the same way. Yeah. He ended up being right about Joe Perreault with Jorginho Rutter in the side. He ended up being right again with Joe Perreault to then move him to the 9. He's got other things that he's been absolutely spot on with that we would have kicked and screamed about, as did Marcelo Bielsa. We used to play blue murder about some of the things that Bielsa did, yet he was right most of the time. And the same goes for Daniel Farke. I'm not saying that I didn't want Karl Darlow in the side last season, but we're now seeing why Karl Darlow didn't come into the side last season. I'm not saying that he's made any huge howlers, however he did against Sheffield Wednesday. That's not what I'm saying. But he's not this answer that everybody wanted him to make out him to be. And it does change. It changed the dynamics of the whole team having Illan Meslier in there or Karl Darlow in there last season. So it's bigger than just, it's bigger than just saying he's a stubborn arsehole and that's the reason why, that one area wasn't perfect. Because it does make up other parts of the team that were very good or perfect. So we're gonna go round and round in circles on this until the day is sacked. But I would just say on Daniel Farke, be really careful what you wish for.
100%, absolutely.
Can I just say as well, Browney? I'd be interested. I know we're going on a little bit, and we'll probably do want to wrap up soon. But it's an interesting debate with regards to the kind of conceding of goals in comparison to the creation of chances. So, we were struggling to create chances. We draw against Newcastle at home in a really boring, stinky 0-0, but we got a point on the board. We didn't barely create anything. Now we're creating chances and half chances, but we're conceding more goals. We're conceding a lot more goals than we were doing earlier on in the season outside of the Arsenal game. We were able to keep clean sheets quite comprehensively, really. We keep a clean sheet against Everton. We keep a clean sheet against Newcastle. We're going to keep a clean sheet against Fulham until the 96th minute. What do you think to that? Because it seems as if we've opened up a bit and now we're conceding more. So is it a case of we've just started playing poorly defensively individually? So Pascal and my problems with him are actually coming more to a light? Or is it within the system and the setup that's actually now meaning that we're conceding more chances as well? I don't know.
Do you know, I don't feel like the system has changed, really. I feel like compared to especially the Newcastle game, we've got more personnel available. Okafor coming into it, Calvert-Lewin coming into it, that improved us offensively, especially against Wolves. I think Strike's an issue. I think Strike's a real issue. I think it was kind of, he was good against Everton, he was awful against Arsenal, and he kind of floated below the radar in a couple of games. I think there's issues you can call Strike. I do think it's because when you look at the XG, I don't know, XG, whatever people think about that, but the majority of games we're outperforming the opposition, yet we're not getting anything from it. So what is going on? I've always felt about Daniel Farke's teams, though, we have to work so hard to get the ball in the back of the net in the majority of games. Games in the Championship where we would absolutely dominate and win 1 or 2-0, and you're like, how are we not scoring a hatful here? I don't know what that is. I don't know what that thing is of why it's so hard for us to score goals when we have so many chances and so much possession and et cetera, et cetera. In terms of the goals against, I think it's, today, whacks it from 30 odd yards. It's a peach, world-class cross from Kyle Walker. I don't necessarily think we've opened ourselves up more. I just think, I think maybe you could look at Darlow as well. I think that first game he came in against Fulham, it was like, wow, he looked great against Wolves, and there's just been a slight kind of downward kind of thing with Darlow a little bit. He's not made any errors, like you say, but I feel like that's dropped off. I think Strike is a problem. I think Bogle's dropped off, like we said. So maybe just a couple of individual things like that have dropped off, and shit luck as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I do think a good goalkeeper gets us 3 points against Bournemouth and probably keeps out at least one against Spurs.
Yeah.
I do. And again, I don't want to be too overly critical. I'm not looking for a scapegoat. I'm just analysing the chances. I think the chance against Bournemouth could have been saved from a top keeper. And I think the both chances against Spurs, deflections or not, could have been stopped.
But for me, you've got to get Perry back in because he needs games. He needs to get comfortable. He needs to get comfortable in this thing, and it can't be one of those situations where we don't see him for 6 months until Carl Darlow gets injured. He's got to come back in.
It comes back in. I don't think he starts this game purely because of fitness. I think he's obviously been out and he's probably been fit enough to make the bench, but ready for Friday, similar to Dan James. I would expect Dan James to come back in when he's ready. I hope he doesn't come back in on Friday, if I'm honest, because I don't want to rush Dan James back. I have a feeling that a fully fit Dan James is going to be really, really key because we've not got a lot out there. So let's not rush him back.
I'll tell you what, though, I am 100% of the belief that Strike won't lose his place, though. I don't believe for a second he will bring B all in ahead of Strauch unless there's an injury or suspension. I'm completely convinced of that. Completely.
And again, then, I will defend him, but then people that are going to go at him regardless have got ammunition to go at him with. There comes a point in where you have to make sure that you're at least giving yourself an opportunity to see different. You can't just, especially, I think the goalkeeper position is one position where you don't change it willy-nilly. I understood the reluctance around that last season. I really did. Even though I still disagreed with him, I understood it. With an outfield player, I think it's different. You can go with the £15 million centre-back that you've signed that was an upgrade and see what that's going to look like, even though that back four has been kind of, staple back four that you feel reassured with. We're conceding goals now. Yeah. So something has to change.
You have to analyse that. There's no way you can look at these goals. There's no way you can look at it and go, if you're doing your proper research and analysis of it, you've got to be seeing that as a glaring thing. The problem I've always had, though, is Strike is held up as a poster boy. He's vice captain. He's got more than just what he's doing on the pitch about him. He's a bit of the social media team bloody love him. I feel like there's a bit of that pressure on it as well. Whereas I think we've got to be cold-hearted and look at it and go, look, you've got fucking £15 million defender sat there on the bench.
I just don't think he's very good.
Yeah.
I've always just said he's just a. I don't even know if he's a bottom end Premier League. I mean, I've always said top end champ, bottom end Prem, but I just don't think he is. I don't think he does anything that spectacular as a centre back to give himself that reputation. And outside of 10 games alongside Diego Llorente in season 1 of the Premier League, he's always been really, really average at best.
When it's a good situation, he can sometimes look great.
Rolls Royce. Yeah.
Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, in the Premier League, as a newly promoted team, 9 times out of 10, you're not in that situation at all, if ever.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, well, there we go. We
choose the fact,
mate. Thank you for everyone who's commented. Please make sure you like the video as well, and if you could subscribe to the channel, that'd be much appreciated. If you're watching this again later as well, leave your comments as well, what you're thinking with that. Myself and Jay, we will be back in the week to chat ahead of the West Ham game and give our thoughts on that, and we'll see how the rest of the Premier League weekend pans out as well. But I've been Stephen Brown, with me has been Jason Booker. Jason, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you, mate.
And we will see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.